and joining me for the chat throughout is Philip Ingram, MBE, former senior military intelligence officer, who, while I've been speaking, has donned a beret. Talk to me about this green beret you're wearing.
I have to put a hat on to take my hat off to you. Because
that totally threw
because last week I got the chance to sit in for Ian Collins on that side of the desk, and oh my goodness, is it different? And the way you make it look natural and come across and all the rest of it, I have to take my hat off to you.
Well, we take our hat off to you for being one of our favourite guests who knows their stuff, which is why we have you in. I can't tell you how disconcerting it was that while we were sitting, while I was reading and talking to you about what's on the show, he's putting a hat on and I could out the corner of my eye. Although I understand that it's a regimental beret, it did have slightly... Betty. It did have a Betty term.
It does, yes.
It did. Right, thank goodness we got that even done. But you're very kind. Well done to you for stepping in for Ian Collins. I know, I mean, of course, Alex Phillips was supposed to be standing in on my show last week and was unwell, and Kevin's... We've had a little bit of a roundabout of jigging around, and of course we've got Jeremy Kyle in tomorrow for Mike Graham. That's going to be a lively handover, I can tell you that. And so Mike's taking a well-earned break. Look, so much to talk about. Let's talk about starting with this energy bill hike. We know, let's face it, we're just used to energy bills going up, aren't they? Labour pledged at the last election to slash energy bills by 300 quid a year.
Yep.
Bearing in mind, they're now around the £1,700 mark for an average household. You may use more, you may use less, but around the £1,700 mark. 5 years ago, they were around the £1,000 mark.
Yep.
And before we had the lockdown and supply issues, and then we had Ukraine war, and not just the sanctions but the Ukraine war itself. They went up, from £1,200 onward from that. But we were told £300 lower. In fact, with this latest energy price cap rise, they're going to be £187 a year higher.
Yep.
Missed their mark by 487 quid. Was that just a lie, or can we understand it? But when the regulator Ofgem, the politically neutral regulator, said that the basically policy costs imposed by the Energy Secretary have contributed to the price cap rising at 2%, double what they was expected. Because this is the madness, people. We're having to pay more to switch off wind turbines at times when they're generating too much power, and then funding gas plants to step in when the wind is not blowing. This is literally the basis of a net zero policy. It's crazy, Philip.
We should have opened a wind farm business. We would have been making a fortune. Yeah, but I think what this does is it highlights the fact that in opposition, the Labour Party did zero planning. They just came out with mad policies that they thought were good sound bites.
We were already doing this under the Tories.
We were, but Labour turned around and said that they were going to cut the energy bill. Ed Miliband turned around and said he was going to cut energy bills by 300 quid.
Because if we stop relying on those awful despots that we get all our gas and oil from, despite the fact that actually... I think 94%, I think it is roughly, of our gas is actually from, neighbouring, either from America or Norway or our allies.
Yeah, but Norway gets it out of the North Sea, and we've stopped taking stuff from the North Sea.
Wait a minute, let me clarify.
The pipe goes...
Is the North Sea anywhere near us? Let me double check on Google Maps. Oh, it's really, really near us.
Well, if we ask Nicola Sturgeon, it's not. It belongs to her.
Isn't it Scotland? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it genuinely is painful, isn't it? And part of the reason our bills are going up is also, it's basically us. We're all anyone who's not on a low income is basically helping to pay there's £150 off energy costs this winter for 6 million low-income families. Now, if you don't go around bleating about how, it's unfair that people on low incomes having high energy bills when, that's the deal. We all pay more so people can pay less. We're subsidising people on lower incomes. And we're already doing that with our income tax to pay for people on benefits, etc., and pay for pensions, but we're subsidising on a double whammy there as well. But the point of this is it's all just totally and utterly nonsense mathematics. Yep. And we're constantly being told that with renewables we'll have more security, more and cheaper prices, and yet we've got loads more renewable energy than many other countries, and yet certainly for manufacturing we have 4 times the energy costs as America has, and we are 50%, our prices across the board are 50% more than they are in Europe. We're told it's nothing to do with us, it's the wholesale gas prices.
No.
The wholesale gas prices have been flatlining, but we're still going up in prices we pay.
The energy policy in this country is impacting, as you said, the manufacturing industry. It's impacting private people and everything, and we're one of the most expensive energy countries in the world.
And we've even got Ed Miliband going up against the Science Technology Secretary, Mr. Kyle, over the fact that absurdly, he wants us to really go into AI. But of course, you can't move into AI. AI involves extraordinary amounts of energy.
Of energy for the server farms.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're pushing two policies that are diametrically opposed.
But didn't you read the memo? AI solves everything. So whenever you get stuck, you just say, we're coming up with an AI policy that will solve that.
I mean, also, we're going to get all those AI jobs lost. Basically, we're going to lose those jobs to AI, but we're going to have all those green jobs to make up for it, so everything's going to be fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It still blows my tiny little mind that people are signed up to this. When people say, oh, are you a climate scientist? And you no, but I went to school at the age of 6 and did enough maths by then that I can work out that the numbers don't add up. That I can tell you that right now. I want to know about these mad net zero policies. They've been blamed for a shock rise in energy bills that will see millions pay more this winter. The Ofgem have said that is one of the reasons why. What is your reaction? And it's not even just like, oh, well, it's cleaner energy, so it's costing a bit more. But no, to turn the wind farms off, and then to use gas.
But it's not clean. It's not cleaner.
I mean, especially once you ship the wind turbines over
wind turbines and the hundreds of tons of concrete that have to be poured underneath.
Also, by the way, they last about 10 years. We've had a load put up in the last 10 years. What do we do with them afterwards?
You can't dispose of them. They can't be recycled.
We're just going to have big piles of our landscape is just going to be lots and lots of big piles of old wind turbines lying on their side. Oh, you can't bury them because, I mean, there'll be some reason for that. Anyway, it's like need planning, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But let's also talk about where we are in terms of the mad people who can come to this country. What do you make of this jihadi Ringo? Now, remember the Beatles, the ISIS Beatles?
I know it well.
Jihadi John was the one we most heard about because he was actually on camera beheading people, including the British aid worker David Haynes. And Jihadi John went to my local comp. So lovely place. Nice big railings. But anyway, that's where Jihadi John went to school in North London. But Jihadi Ringo, currently serving life in a high-security US jail after being convicted of hostage-taking and conspiracy to murder. 8 life sentences. They do a proper sentence in America. El Shafi El Sheikh, he has now applied to return to what he calls his home country, Britain. Wasn't born here, he's Sudanese. He was given British citizenship, having grown up here, but then decided to renounce that to join ISIS. Well, by then, you're not British, mate, so not my problem. He wants to come back here. He says he wants to be friends with a family for visiting at the prison, and he's applied to be switched from his Colorado prison to a UK jail. I mean, under the International Prisoner Transfer Programme. Now, given that Trump's people in the White House have said repeatedly, look, you should take back your prisoners, we've convicted them. Let's face it, this guy, if it was in Britain, he would be looked at by Prevent and they would decide he wasn't really a risk and then move on their way. What do you make of this? Should we have him back?
No, not at all. The High Court has made or the Supreme Court has made a perfectly good precedence in looking at the Shamima Begum case because her British citizenship was taken away from her. She appealed that, and therefore they've concluded that the Home Office was right in not giving her any right to come back to this country. He's exactly the same.
It's different, isn't it? Because Shamima Begum was born in Britain and doesn't have access to any other nationality.
Well, theoretically,
her grandparents or her parents are Bangladesh, but she's not. She isn't Bangladeshi. I think it's Bangladesh or Pakistan.
Bangladeshi. If she, the rules are, for Bangladeshi citizenship was if she'd applied for Bangladeshi citizenship because her parents had been there by the age of 21, she could have had it. So whenever the legal ruling was made, she was eligible for Bangladeshi citizenship. He is in not even as strong a case as she is, and he didn't think about the families and the friends of those that he brutally murdered on video. So No, let them rot in American jail.
Yeah, well, that's my thing. It was always a shame that she said Shamima Begum. At the time, I thought, I'm not sure we should take away British citizenship. I just wanted her to come back to Britain, but be put away for life.
We wouldn't be able to.
That's it. But we don't do that. And if we're not going to do that, well, in that case, I don't want you back. But there we are. I also don't want people being able to stay here who've come here illegally and be able to work and again, pay for their own rent according to the Refugee Council. They won't be paying for their own rent. We'll be paying for it for them. But the Refugee Council, as I've just mentioned, are suggesting that to deal with this problem of having all these people in these hotels, and obviously lots of protests about them, and it's all very visible because people are aware of them now. The Home Office try to keep their location quiet. I mean, there's one within a 10-minute walk of my home. Didn't know anything about it, not in the local paper. Council didn't ask anybody. If I want to change my sodding windows, I have to ask for permission from the council. Local hotel doesn't have to ask for permission to change. Well, the High Court says perhaps they do.
They did. So
we'll be looking into
today.
that local hotel. We're no longer a public hotel. We're now a private hotel. No, you're not. You're a hostel. You're a building of multiple occupancy.
Use.
And
yes.
I'm not allowed to suddenly set up a business in my home or anything like that. So anyway. We have got a Court of Appeal case, Home Office and the hotel chain at the heart of that, Bell Hotel in Epping ruling. They're trying to overturn that ruling, banning them from housing people from illegal migrants. But the Refugee Council is suggesting to Yvette Cooper, and my God, she's probably likely to listen to this, they want to close the hotels.
Yep.
But you can't get people out of the hotels because there are so many of them. And they're suggesting that actually you should have a permission to stay scheme, and then, really simple, then you could really easily just move these people out. And they're saying, look, a one-off scheme subject to rigorous security checks, ha ha ha. And basically, migrants who make up 4 out of 10 migrants in the hotels, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iran, Sudan and Syria. Also, coincidentally, those with the highest criminality rate, according to the official statistics, not what I'm saying, that they should be allowed on a temporary basis to work legally, and then they can pay rent, they can earn money in the legal market, and stop being a burden on the taxpayer. Another pull for the people smugglers to say, hey, come over here, and also claim you're from Afghanistan, Eritrea, blah, blah, blah. But B, these people are not going to be able to get high-paid jobs and afford their rent.
No.
We'll still be paying for their accommodation, subsidising their income. They're probably still going to work on the black market as well. I mean, this is properly insane, letting these people even give advice on this issue. Yeah,
completely insane. It's a slippery slope. It moves them, yes, out of the hotels, but into the local communities, so local authorities, and they'll then be entitled to all of the benefits. And when they suddenly start seeing the benefits, they're not going to do declared work or anything else. We need, again, this is another example like Ed Milliwatt's crazy, we're going to save you 300 quid because there was no planning. There was no planning whenever they decided to scrap the Rwanda scheme. Instead of going, we can see what the faults are on it, let's make it better.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think they were going to smash the gangs.
They were going to smash the gangs. How's that gone?
Do you know what I find extraordinary? The criticism from Labour of the Nigel Farage deportation scheme announced formally this week on Tuesday was that there's not enough detail. We haven't got the detail on it. It's like it's 3.5 years out from any general election. We could possibly put this to practice. There was quite a lot of detail actually, but we don't even know the detail of the one-in, one-out scheme, and it's already started. As people have been detained.
But that's a success. It's a deterrent. You're going to be immediately interned and then sent back from where you came from, and we're going to take another 15. But if you can immediately intern everyone that's coming in for the one in, one out, why are you not doing it for everyone?
Exactly. Which is what the plan is. Exactly. Yeah. What do you make of Nigel Farage being accused of rowing back? This news came out, press conference yesterday that he held, talking about his deportation plans. He'd been asked on Tuesday, will you also deport women and children? He said, yes, everyone's going to be detained, everyone's going to be deported. Yesterday, he was basically saying, look, women and children aren't going to be our priority. Certainly for the first 5 years, if for a 5-year term, it's adult males that people are concerned about. Now, is that rowing back? Or
I see it as clarifying, and when you're put in the spot and you're asked to respond to a question.
Well, you should have foreseen that question.
You should have foreseen that question, and in principle you're getting everyone out, but actually in reality women and children, which are the vast minority of those that are coming into this country illegally.
And even when they talk about children, they're talking about 16 and 17.
Exactly, but women and children probably have a better claim for asylum because they are fleeing some form of oppression or something else. But fighting age men don't.
Once you say, you know, that women and children won't be deported, you literally just set up a new market for the smuggling gangs, don't you?
You do, but if you're going to say women and children will not be a priority, and you didn't say wouldn't be deported, you said would not be a priority.
Yeah. That would be where the British people would be, I think.
You then bring a rule in and say, but you can't bring your male relatives. So, you know, if you want to use that as an excuse to get your husband in, sorry, doesn't work, because either the whole family is is oppressed or it's not. You just can't play the game.
And then people go, well, you can't be separating people from their children.
Yes, you can.
I mean, by the way, every Filipino nurse working in Britain has left her child behind being looked after by grandparents. That is quite a normal thing. But we send people to prison. Yes. And we separate them from them. Yeah. We do this all. Those people weren't bothered about Lucy Connolly, who'd never done a violent act in her life, being kept away from her 12-year-old for a year. I mean, people, they're very bizarre on this, aren't they? Look, just one other thing I wanted to, again, love to hear your thoughts on this. 0344 499 1000. Particularly, I mean, on this row over banning the housing of illegal migrants in hotels. This permission to stay scheme. Can anyone spot the hidden flaws in that? And all your thoughts on that. But just one final topic I want to ask you about in this section, and this is this horrific shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, a primary school. 2 young children died, 17 injured. And it's absolutely fascinating reading the different reports in the different media about the gun attacker, the shooter. I've seen whole reports where they managed to avoid at any point using a pronoun.
Yes.
Why? Because the gun attacker was what they would otherwise, if he was the victim, he would be a trans woman, but he is a trans-identified man. But because he's the perpetrator, barely mentioned, later identified as a man who claims to... No, can't say a trans woman. The headline, if it was a trans woman attacked by a gunman, that would be it. No, it was a trans-identified man. He was born Robert, he called himself Robin, I say neutral, and perhaps we could say a non-binary name. But this is not the first time we've seen incredibly violent acts by supposedly trans-identified people. The media are very, very, very quick to always, if it's a court case, they'll refer to a trans-identified man accused of sexual assault. They refer to him as she and her throughout and use his preferred name, even if he's not changed but legally by deed poll. And yet in this, a horrible, horrible act perpetrated against children at the school where his mother had worked. We'll just kind of sweep that trans bit under the carpet. So obvious and blatant, isn't it?
Right, it is completely obvious and blatant. And he hasn't committed this act because he is trans. He's committed this act because he is mentally ill. And
a lot of people would argue that trans, believing you are born in the wrong body, is a mental illness. It was treated as such, body dysmorphia, until about 10 years ago.
Yeah, and this is where the PC nature of the world is letting society down.
No, the abject failure of the media internationally, but particularly the British media, to honestly report things. You're allowed to report certain key facts. If he was still alive and there was a court case in Britain, say, you're still allowed to report basic things. They're arguing about, whether you should know someone's nationality or ethnicity. No, whether someone is a man or a woman, the number of crimes that have been ascribed, assigned to women when they're actually men who claim, they're not even trans, they're claiming to be trans-identified.
This is where the media has failed to hold power to account whenever the politicians have tried to bring the PC policies in. All of the different groups that are out there have tried to exploit things, really just to line their own pockets. And this is where the media, instead of falling into line with it and trying to be equally PC or more PC than anyone else, should have been holding them to account.
I can't tell you how many private text messages and messages I send to reporters saying, no, I'm going to factually corrected the Spectator newsletter this morning. You've managed not to use a single pronoun and you've said trans woman. No, trans-identified man. Call him what he is.